Voice of the Valley, two-way radio in the morning, 342-8812, 466-8812. We have with us a special guest in the ballroom this morning, a gentleman that we've been looking forward to chatting with, a gentleman who has just come into our area. And we'd like to introduce to you now a gentleman who is a noted lecturer on sex hygiene, Mr. E.J. Shaefer. Mr. Shaefer, good to have you with us on KFXD's Voice of the Valley this morning.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
Mr. Shaefer, may we have, first of all, your permission to open up our KFXD Voice of the Valley listener lines for questions of you from our listeners?
Certainly. Go right ahead.
Okay, Mr. Shaefer, let's first of all, from a background standpoint, ask you what brings you here to our Boise Valley area.
I'm here working with two movies that are going to appear at the Terrace Drive-In starting tomorrow. That's in Caldwell, called Slightly Damaged and Mondo. And they are educational sex hygiene pictures.
Okay, before we get into the specifics of the pictures themselves, Mr. Shaefer, tell us a little bit about yourself, would you? About your background and where you're from.
Well, we are from Santa Barbara. This is the headquarters of our company, the Jeco Film and Publishing Company. And I have been involved in public speaking and discussing sex hygiene throughout the Southwest for quite a while. And because of my background, I was asked by the sponsors and the publishers of the book, by the way, which we're going to disseminate at the movie. I have been asked to come here and represent them and talk to the public on any occasion that they require for me to help them understand certain intimate and sensitive areas of their personal sex problems.
All right. Now, Mr. Shaefer, from the standpoint of the films themselves, how do they fit into sex hygiene or sex education or whatever the proper terminology may be?
Well, not to go into any great detail, they tell a story of young people who think they know all the answers and then find out to their sorrow that they don't know everything, and of course their ignorance leads them into trouble. And then later on in the picture you are shown some very shocking but necessary scenes that will display to you the problems and the seriousness of the ravages of disease caused by sex ignorance.
Now, when you say shocking, are we talking here, Mr. Shaefer, about sensationalism on film, exploitation, perhaps, of the sex education or sex exposure?
No, there is nothing pornographic. There is nothing there that is not approved or accepted by the medical profession or good taste.
Mr. Shaefer, are the films might they be categorized in the training film, in the instructional film category, or would they be best deemed in the area of entertainment type films?
Well, fortunately, they are entertaining, but they are educational and instructional at the same time, which is a combination that is highly to be desired whenever we are trying to educate somebody, even ourselves.
Who, in your opinion, Mr. Shaefer, from an age group standpoint, what age group ideally do you think would benefit most from the films?
Well, from what I have observed in our contemporary society, I feel that almost any age group from 11, 12 years of age on up, and I don't restrict this merely to youngsters. There are many adults and married adults who can gain considerable from watching our movie.
Are there age restrictions on the films, Mr. Shaefer?
No, sir. There are no age restrictions.
What about attending with parents or guardian or that kind of restriction?
No, there is no GP restriction, sir.
All right. Our guest in the ballroom this morning is Mr. E.J. Shaefer, who is visiting in the area along with two films which are going to be shown at the Terrace Drive-In between Nampa and Caldwell starting tomorrow evening. Mr. Shaefer, we want to discuss with you, you call it sex hygiene. You've done a considerable amount of speaking on sex hygiene. Is this the same as what we consider sex education?
Yes, it's in the realm of taking care of the body as far as the sexuality of a human being is concerned. Now, I would like to say one or two words about the movie and about the book and the reasons for this. This may help you understand, and the listening audience understand a little bit more about what we are trying to do. And I will read a passage here which will only take about a half a minute. Now, this book and the movie are dedicated to the belief that sexual activity is a fact of life that demands greater exposure to the light of education. The aim of the book and the movie is to shed such light, to correct certain misunderstandings, and to encourage a more mature and meaningful attitude towards sexual behavior. It is hoped that the book and movie help to promote a happier and healthier understanding of sex, and thus contribute in some small measure to the richer enjoyment of life for all who read it and see the picture.
All right, now the book is made available at the showing of the film?
That is right. The people who will see the picture will have an opportunity to purchase the book.
Okay, Mr. Shaefer, the area of sex education is one which is highly controversial. There are those who say that sex education should take place in the home. And there are those who say it isn't happening in the home, it should take place in the school, and you're saying it should take place at the movies. Why?
Well, I would like to qualify your question in this way, that I do not think that this education should be at the moving picture theaters completely. I say that an ideal situation would be for the parents to discuss this sensitive subject with their children. And I do feel that there is a certain type of training that can be received from the schools. However, because we know that parents sometimes are hesitant to discuss this, and there are schools that are not permitted to discuss this, we feel that we can fit in and help both the parents and the school.
Well, do you suggest, Mr. Shaefer, that parents do come with their children? Is that a compatible kind of thing for your films?
Yes, most definitely. I have had this experience with this film where the parents have come to see the movie alone, and then in a few days they come back and bring their children.
The titles of the film, Mr. Shaefer, don't sound like a sex hygiene type class. Slightly Damaged, I think infers something a bit more sensational than that. Is it misleading, or is there a deeper meaning there when you say Slightly Damaged as the title of one of the two films going to be at the Terrace?
That's an excellent question. I like that very, very much, sir. The movie, as it tells its story, will bring to light the meaning of the words slightly damaged.
What about the other film, Mondo, which doesn't mean a great deal? What's that from?
The movie Mondo is from Mondo Ballardo, meaning a crazy world, and it shows sex attitudes throughout the world. They have different ways of looking at it and expressing it from what we do in this country. And there is a little bit of sensationalism because we are not accustomed to it, but those very same pictures shown in the countries of their origin would not be sensational.
Mr. Shaefer, is either of these two films the kind of film which, if I go with my youngsters, am I going to be embarrassed, or will they be embarrassed?
No, I doubt very much if your youngsters will be embarrassed.
Our guest in the ballroom this morning is Mr. E.J. Shaefer, a noted lecturer on sex hygiene who is in the area, along with 2 films which are going to be shown at the Terrace Drive-In starting tomorrow evening. Our Voice of the Valley listener lines for your questions of Mr. Shaefer are 342-8812 and 466-8812.